Welcome back to the podcast, Kinetic Spine and Sport podcast, sponsored somewhat by the Moondogs production team. So thank you to them. Thank you to Tyler, who just left and got it all set up for us. Today is episode 8. So we're 2 episodes away from the 10 landmark, which means in my brain it's a real podcast.
Nice.
But today our guest is Dr. Matt Hogden. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Yes. Dr. Matt is a physical therapist. He's a good buddy of mine. He's one of the people that I first connected with when I moved back to Mankato. And we mix and mingle and have done a lot of things together in the past couple years.
Definitely.
But let's just start by you sharing a little bit about, about BodiKey. And one of the big questions that I was going to talk through today is how did BodiKey start? But just tell everybody a little bit about what it is right now.
Yeah. Right now it's a standalone physical therapy clinic. So if I were to retroly look at 6 years ago when I started it, it's definitely exceeded my expectations. It's definitely allowed me to provide for my family, which is amazing. It's allowed me to help a significant amount of people throughout the community, which is actually really, really great too. And just kind of let me build relationships like yourself and others in the community that I don't think I would have ever met or had come previous, if I would have stayed within the hospital system and kind of went from there. So way back in 2018, it was always, actually 2017 even, it was always my plan to start a business of some sort, a physical therapy practice. You can even go back into preschool even. It was ownership is so 2014. Ownership has always been kind of my goal of owning a practice. Some of that stems just from my own personality. Kind of like any ownership, we don't take critique all that well, right? No, critique is definitely there, but it's definitely just always probably been a process that I've done, that I've thought about and wanted. And then in school, as I was doing my clinicals, I realized that physical therapy is very much reactive. We treat a significant amount of Medicare patients, so over 65. Nothing wrong with that, but it ends up being reactive. We don't get into the preventative basis. And so then I started to say, hey, I want my business to focus on what I now call the forgotten people of healthcare. And that is just people that have $5,000, $10,000 deductibles that just simply don't go to healthcare simply because they can't afford to, or they don't have time to because they're working or whatever it happens to be. So that forgotten part. And make it much more preventative too. So it's not like you don't have to have an injury and come to me. You can just have an ache and pain. You can just not be sleeping very well. You can do a lot of things and be able to get that taken care of before it becomes the injury, before it becomes something you have to go see the MD. And so way back in 2018, still planning to do insurance based at that point. But I retroactively chose to go insurance-based just because of where insurance is. And like I said, people have $5,000, $10,000 deductibles. And when I was working for the hospital system, I was charging $300, $400 a session. And I didn't feel that would reach the forgotten people if I was charging $300, $400 a session. And so I decided to go the cash-based route, and now it's only $70 a visit. Like, you just come and pay the $70. The insurance likely won't cover anything. There's a chance they do, but likely doesn't. But at least that's a more reasonable price that they can afford and kind of be reached and not be forgotten anymore. So
yeah, I think that's a cool way to look at it, because there is such a big portion of the population that they're either lost in the gray zone of no man's land, right? Where it's doing proactive care or preventative care, however you want to call it, ends up being so much more expensive than it needs to be, and it's hard to get access to it, whether you have to go through a referral process. There's all sorts of different requirements to go through that insurance route. And so it makes that avenue so much more difficult for them. But then there's also the part of the population that's like, for the most part, like healthy. Like they don't have problems, but maybe it's more the regular like aches and pains and tightness and whatnot of like being active. Like the way that I think about, if someone's training moderately hard, I'm expecting them to not feel great every day. But like that's a part of the adaptive process of the body. And so it helps us kind of categorize, like, not all pain is bad. Some pain is just productive and it's a part of that process. But it's like you can't necessarily go into a hospital setting and say like, well, yeah, I work out every day and I'm just a little sore. Can you help me with that? Like they just don't have the resources necessarily to fit that. It's also like going to the ER with acute back pain. It's like they're going to make sure that the ER's job is to make sure that you don't die within 48 hours. Like that's like their main goal.
Definitely.
But they don't have the tools and resources necessarily to like progressively treat you out of an episode. But because our whole system is built on that, like even those people get lost.
Yeah, definitely.
So
I mean, even just going to your regular MD, oftentimes I've had pain for 2 months and they're like, oh, just take a rest, do this for 2 weeks. Well, then all of a sudden you got to schedule another visit, and like it's just a system to I strongly feel the healthcare system has transitioned into, hey, don't sue me, I'm going to do this and this, don't sue me, rather than, hey, I actually care what's going on, how can I help you, let's get you to the resources that need it. And that's even in the rehab side, the physical therapy side, is that we treat by diagnosis almost, we don't treat by the actual person.
Human.
And that's one, exactly. And that's one of the big things I enjoy owning the own practice and having BodiKey now, is that I actually listen. I care about what the person's saying. It's the diagnosis is still there. I care that you have rotator cuff tendonitis or that you have this, but it's more like, hey, how is this affecting your life? What can we do to improve it? And so it can be much more a patient specific rather than diagnostic specific, which is what healthcare has turned into.
Yeah, one term that I feel like pops up every now and then when I'm either like watching rehab stuff or other people that run clinics, but they kind of bring up the point that like you don't want to fit a patient to a perfect plan. You want to fit the perfect plan to the patient. And it's shifting that perspective then utilizes like the flexibility or agility of being able to make different decisions and understand that maybe I want to see a patient 2 times a week for 4 weeks, but like they literally don't have the time to do it. They may not have the money or resources to do it. So it's like all of a sudden that perfect plan is now very imperfect for that person. And then it's no longer effective. So when you get to be in a space where you can kind of lay out the details of like, what is your life? What is available? Do you have the time to do this? Do you have the energy to do this? I've had plenty of people that, we've been working on something in the clinic, but something else in life pops up that like takes priority, and we more or less take a break from treating them because it ends up being more of a stressor to them.
100%,
right? And again, when you're following other bigger templates, or unfortunately when insurance dictates your plan, as soon as you vary away from that or stray from that, then all of a sudden like they question whether they're going to cover it or not.
100%.
And it's like, well, maybe this person had a crazy life event that they didn't control, and like now they can't do that, but now their coverage is going to be taken away because they couldn't follow the plan. That's so backwards.
I agree. Plan of cares it's meant for averages. Like it's come in for low back pain, and it's amazing how many times in my early career working for a hospital I just said, okay, 2 times a week for 6 weeks, and that was my plan of care. And but the amount of average is that, hey, some people take 6 weeks, some people take 8, some people take 4. Like that's the point of averages. But it's you get done at 6, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, by the way, insurance says we're done covering it because you said 6. I'm like, yeah, but what about this? And so yes, that And you same like you said, like it's that disruption of care, whether it's a family emergency or something else that makes life so stressful that somebody's not going to make strides gains if they're in a huge stressful environment. And so it's often best to pause and just say, hey, let's come back to this in 2, 3, 4 months or 4 weeks and see if we can start getting you better at that process. And yeah, like obviously the priorities changed at this point, and let's go for it. So yeah, I do agree that it's really nice working for the patient rather than the insurance company.
Yeah. Yep. And that portion is where I'm very jealous of your clinical setup versus mine.
Yeah.
And it's, there's still ways to make it work, because I've also found, like, there are people that no matter what, they're going to use their insurance,
Yeah,
because I think there's a certain perspective in society that, like, insurance is there to be used.
Yep.
And as soon as, you bring up, hey, we also have this cash rate, I'm sure some people are like, well, why would I want to pay cash? This, like, seems like a scam, because in the past, I'm sure some clinics have done that.
Yeah, definitely.
But one of the things that we try and do is basically show, like, hey, here's what the cost is with your insurance. Here's what it costs if we do cash. A lot of times they're very similar. Sometimes one is slightly more expensive than the other, but then it at least allows the patient to decide.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, that's a very good point. And yes, the insurance rate, often people have a philosophy like, hey, I'm paying this premium, insurance should cover this. But as we all pretty much know in our deep down is that they're trying not to pay for it. Like, even though you have insurance, they try really hard not to pay for something, right. Even though it should obviously be paid for. And so, yeah, that's if having the ability to do both would be great. It's just the vast difference in a physical therapy realm anyways, difference from chiro, is that the price difference is not there. If I were to offer a cash rate and have somebody had a high deductible rate, insurance rate rather, it's almost $300, $400 a session compared to my cash rate, which is $70. Well, almost everyone goes that way if they have a high deductible insurance. So it's not worth the work, I should say, the administration side of things to even offer that insurance rate. That's kind of where I'm at. So obviously from the price standpoint, there's a lot more expenses that go into having insurance and billing specialists and all that stuff, that it was just, hey, I want to meet the people and kind of go there. So.
Yep. And I think one of the cool parts from a professional standpoint, like, physical therapy's been around long enough where people, I think for the most part, like, have a decent expectation of what it's going to look like. They know a lot of, like, the details of what goes on, whether it's like a strength and conditioning based type of program, or if it's more of a hands-on manual therapy type of stuff. And I think that's where chiropractic is still a little, I'll say, odd, because you could go to 10 different chiropractors and get 10 very, very different approaches. And it's like, because of that, I think it makes people even question it a little, or be a little bit more hesitant up front anyways. But I think it's also becoming more and more regular, which I think in the future opens up people's minds to, like, stepping away from insurance if it's the right thing and not necessarily questioning it. Actually, I went back and spoke at our biomechanics class yesterday.
Okay.
And one of the things that I asked in class was, like, hey, who here has been to a chiropractor before? And I think like 90% of them raised their hand, which is like, it's going to be a biased group because a lot of those people are in
exercise-based anyways.
Yeah. But still, like, if I would have asked that question 20 years ago, it would have been a very different answer, which I think is cool. Again, just showing that people are more open-minded to just different types of treatment, different types of approaches, and also like different clinic settings. It probably wasn't that long ago where like private practice physical therapy clinics like were not very common. Right, but they're becoming more common because people are finding the value in like that space where people can be flexible with them.
Just the administration cost of going through insurance. It's so hard to have a private practice because the way, as a whole, physical therapy is a very much a baby profession when it comes to like a doctorate and autonomy and stuff like that. And we've come from even just 10 years ago very much needing the medical doctor's referral to see patients. Like we can't, like a person just couldn't come into a physical therapy clinic before. And so if you weren't affiliated with those medical doctors, it was really hard to get those referrals, because if you had your own private practice, it was just impossible to actually get the referrals, because obviously they're going to try to refer in-house. Now, and whether they do it purposely or not, I mean, it's illegal to do it purposely, but whether they do it purposely or not, it's a matter of like, hey, it's in-house, it's convenient, you're going to try to go there anyways.
Logistics.
Exactly, logistics. So the change of now that we have a lot more autonomy in the physical therapy profession, because now we're doctorates and people can just walk right into the clinic and be seen and stuff like that, has really changed that the private practice clinic. Now, I haven't seen too many more insurance-based private practice clinics, but if you go to the East and West Coast, you're looking at pretty close to 50-50 cash-based versus insurance-based, and most of them being private practices now. So the Midwest is slightly behind, and that's some of that. There's a lot of that goes into that, but some of that is still our co-payments are a little bit lower than the East and West Coast. I mean, if you look at co-payments in the East and West Coast, you're paying almost $75 to $100 per co-payment. Well, then it's cheaper to come to me at 70. But here in the Midwest, we're still somewhat lucky. If you look at that, we're still only paying like $40 co-pays. Right. And so then if you do have a decent insurance and you don't have to have the deductible, then that $40 co-pay is all you have to pay for that physical therapy session. So
that $40 goes farther.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of how it's set up.
Yeah. But I would say insurance does dictate, like, you're going to be seen 2 to 3 times a week and mostly work on exercises, compared to like, hey, come into a private practice. Again, we're going to be much more patient and not have to worry about all those business ends of like, hey, if you only need to come 1 time a week, or if you need to come once every 2 weeks, like I want you to give the exercises to you at home. So that way you can start getting yourself stronger. But I don't need to watch your exercise. I don't need to count your reps, which is what a lot of physical therapy in the hospital insurance world has turned into, is just counting reps, which is, it's not the end. Like, there's a lot of cues that help somebody get stronger and get going faster, but doing something is better than nothing for the vast majority of people.
Yeah. Explain a little bit, like, what does the structure look like within your clinic, right? Like, what is a typical appointment? What are some of the things that, like, you and your team typically do? Again, because I think most people, if they've gone to a PT clinic, are more used to, like, what does the big facility look like? Yep. So how does that work in your space?
Yeah, it's a little bit different. The initial paperwork is going to be pretty much the same. It's going to be going through just kind of what caused this, how long has it been, what have you tried, kind of similar from that perspective. There's a little bit less just because it is a private communication, co-communication between other disciplines. So like your MD notes are not going to come to me just automatically and stuff like that. So there's a little bit more reliance on getting that information from you, from the patient. So there's a little bit more work from your end of that. But then, we pull you into the room, and one huge thing that we do at BodiKey is we listen. So that first 15 minutes of an eval is typically like, hey, what's going on? What have you tried? What have you done? Like, not re-asking the questions that were in the initial paperwork, because I always pull those things in, but like just making you go deeper. Like, what is actually happening here, and what do you feel like you need? Because there's 4 things every patient wants to know, and that's what's wrong with me, what can you do for me, what can I do for myself, and how long can it take to get me better? And so figuring out those questions of like, hey, what research have you done? Have you used Dr. Google? Now, both me and you probably agree Dr. Google's not the greatest, but there's amazing things that, somebody can get made up in their mind of, hey, this is what's going on, and then you have to respectfully, professionally either agree or disagree with what's their theory is, so that way you can actually move on towards like, hey, this is why I'm not going towards this route, this is why I am going towards this route, and understanding that, listening to that patient. So that first 15 minutes is usually just listening, and then we can start getting into that treatment. So
and can I make a comment off of that? Yeah. And I think it's so cool, because we kind of do the same. You and I have a very similar clinic approach, which is why we can have these conversations. But it's like I bet most clinicians could read an intake form and already have 75%, 80% of an idea of like what they want to do, right? Like just based off of the history, again, playing the averages and just knowing how things play out. But it's like that last 25%, it doesn't dictate what you do, but it dictates how you do it.
Exactly.
And I think you get those answers by helping people dig a little bit deeper with those next level questions. And I always think like that's kind of our way of like filling in the gaps, or just like finishing the, I sometimes call it like we're trying to paint a pretty picture when we're going through our history. If we can paint a picture that makes sense to me and to the patient, that's our plan. But like we need some next level stuff sometimes to like kind of polish that off. But then when you get there and you turn it into a good conversation with them, you know, all of a sudden like everybody's learning, everybody's in tune to like what the picture or the plan is. And then like you're already off to a great start just by taking the time to have that conversation.
No, 100% agree. If you can understand their perspective, where they're coming from, it's going to be a much better treatment. They're going to get from a business perspective, the buy-in, like they're going to trust you. They're going to know that you're looking out for them, rather than just assuming that, oh, he's a doctor. Like he's a doctor, he knows what he's doing. Like they actually believe you know what you're doing. But yeah, then the rest of the treatment is treatment. Like it is. The way I like doing it at BodiKey is that it's not a 15 minutes of assessment to try to figure out an exact diagnosis, because a lot of us, especially like even in the MD world, you symptom diagnose. Like there is special tests, there's things that rule in and rule out, and we will definitely do those. But you symptom diagnose. If like, oh hey, it hurts when I raise my arm up. Well, then I'm already, hey, let's figure out which tendon it is, what's going on. So I get into hands-on treatment. I am a manual-based therapist, so I'm doing joint mobilizations. I can do instrument-assisted massage. I can do deep tissue massage. Like we are working on that tendon and fascia directly. And then as I'm starting that treatment, like I'm having the conversation, I'm trying to figure out what's preventing this person, or what really caused this, if they haven't already answered that. Like I continue that listening aspect as we're in that treatment. And then at the end, that usually takes about a half hour, 40 minutes. I always give a home exercise program. So it's a matter of, I'm a firm believer, cues are needed, like therapeutic exercise is needed. You need to watch people exercise at least once or twice to make sure they're somewhat doing it right. But I would much rather strengthen a muscle in a bad form than not strengthen muscle at all. And so I'm a much, I give that the last 15 minutes of the treatment based on, hey, what can you do to yourself to get yourself better? And I give them anywhere between 2 to 5 exercises, and like, hey, these are the ones that are going to focus on these muscles that are bugging on you. And now that we got them nice and loose and we got them moving and we got things like moving without friction, let's get you progressing towards actually working towards getting stronger and long-term relief as well. And so they will always leave with those, and then we'll progress those throughout the next sessions. Typical person, if they come in with just an ache or pain, is going to be seen probably once a week for about 3 to 4 weeks, and then we can send them on their way. There is patients that need that 2 times a week just simply because it's a pretty acute flare-up and we need to kind of get that under control. And then there's other people that do a very vigorous lifestyle and work out 5 days a week and are CrossFit or weekend warriors. And what I mean by that is going to do a try on the weekend, but yet they do no training during the week. Or they're more relatable. They're putting drywall up in their basements on the weekends, and they want to continue to do that. They want to continue to focus on their health, continue focus on their mobility, and they don't want to become, and if they're already there, but they don't want to become that 70-year-old that sits on the couch or has to go to the nursing home or something like that. And so keeping them active, keeping them moving on our maintenance program is also a very good option, so that way they can actually, as soon as an ache happens, we can address it and get it taken care of. So.
Sure. Cool. How do you, when it comes to like the wellness program or the maintenance program, or right, like whatever word people want to use with it, how do you educate people on getting them to see the value of that? Because everybody does it a little bit differently, but like, what are some of the conversations that you have with people when you're thinking like, hey, you might be a good candidate for just like this approach?
That's a very good question. Like, it's very few people will come in saying that, hey, I want to be on the maintenance program. There's some of them that are being referred by other maintenance people and stuff like that.
Sure.
Typically they're coming in because their shoulder pain got so bad that they were unable to sleep for a couple hours at night or something like that. And we get the shoulder flare up down and we get it moving. And then we're like, hey, what caused this? What's what's the reason of why this even developed? And we're getting to, hey, you got a lot of back tightness, you have a lot of low back tightness, and yeah, you're living with it, you're dealing with it, but you're not actually taking care of it.
Sure.
And so usually in that session, it's usually that third or fourth session that I'm just like, hey, you are 80% better for what you came in at, but there's other things. Do you want me to start looking at those? And we start treating the whole body rather than just the problem area. And then they pretty much, I don't think I know I've never forced, but I don't think I've ever actually had to even talk somebody into the maintenance program. One, it's a little small discount of money, which monetary value is a good, but they see the benefit. Like they feel just much looser. They feel like they can sit at their desk for 8 hours. They feel like they could do drywall on the weekend. They feel like they could do a lot of things that a lot of times it's just the patient and that decides to go on the maintenance program after I just mildly bring it up. Hey, I do have this if you want to keep coming. Like it's something that you can save $10 a session and potentially keep feeling better and keep moving. And then it's not meant to be, I mean, I have patients that absolutely love it, that have been on it way longer than I would probably recommend, 2-3 years, but most people are on it 3-4 months and then they kind of go on their own and say, hey, I feel really good. I'll be back in 6-7 months, which, and or sometimes they're not back at all, which is great too, because that means they're actually moving and feeling good and stuff like that. So
right, yeah, it's I have a couple points I want to bring up with that, but it's like you kind of mentioning like working people through a longer maintenance plan and then like letting them go and go back to life, and the business side of the brain is like, well, we don't want to let them go, right? Like that's what helps our business grow. Yeah. But what's so interesting, and I said this at a talk that I did a couple weeks ago, was like, again, if you know the numbers and you know the statistics, it's like most people will have some type of like musculoskeletal flare-up almost every year.
Yeah.
Right? Because like we're humans and we're active and we do stuff and sometimes we do stupid stuff.
Yeah.
And
eventually we all turn 30 and we just sleep wrong.
Yeah, right. But it's like life just happens, and sometimes flare-ups occur and pain occurs, and I always think like we don't need to scare people into that, right? Like we just need to be there when that stuff happens. And I think that's a slight shift in how certain, I would say, clinics kind of approach stuff, because there's definitely been a history of clinics saying, oh my gosh, you need to keep getting treated, or like bad things are going to happen. It's like, well, if you understand the data behind it, like bad things going to happen in either way. Exactly. Like that's just kind of life. And really like redoing treatment over and over and over again doesn't necessarily show that it's gonna like decrease all that much that happens, right? So it's really like you just educate people and then give them the freedom to go like live their life, and then empower them to know when to utilize the care, and be like, yeah, okay, you know what we do, we're back when you need us, you need us, and then we'll problem solve again.
I 100% agree that there's people want to, as a practitioner, you want to be needed. You want to be the one to get them better. But at the same time, like, I want to empower somebody else to get themselves better. And it goes back to those 4 questions. Like, what can the patient do for themselves to get them better? I want to give them, the patient, the tools to get themselves better. And sometimes with the maintenance program, like, it's just little nudges of, like, saying, hey, you're fine. Like, this is good. Like, it's amazing how much fear avoidance is out there. Like, you start feeling a little bit of pain, so then you just don't do anything. Well, now all of a sudden it hurts more because you didn't do anything.
Right.
And so keeping movement is lotion, and that's a huge component of it, of just keeping them moving, keeping them going. But not requiring somebody to be on the maintenance program. It's not like I'm like, you come to my clinic and now all of a sudden I'm going to be seeing you for a year. No, I'm hopefully to see you only 3 to 4 sessions. But if you want to continue because you saw the value and you see that things are continuing to improve and you want to keep moving at a peak level rather than at 70%, you want to move at 90-95%.
Right.
Like that's the benefit of the maintenance program, is keeping you at that 90-95 rather than keeping you at the 70. And I mean, I'm a pessimistic, so I guess you could say the 100% or 150%. But there's always got to be room for some aches and pains, like you say.
Right.
But yes, keeping you moving, keeping you going. But yeah, not forcing that either. Like the patient's got to see the value. They gotta feel respected. They gotta feel like they're actually getting something out of the session, rather than just monitoring and helping my business.
Right.
And like you said, keeping them going. Obviously, business wise, like hey, if I can make a patient give me over a lifetime $3,000, that's $3,000. But if I can make that patient give me $400, and then all of a sudden they refer 5 people, now all of a sudden I made more money.
Right.
Like in the big scheme, and then that cascades. That 5 people turns into 20. Like it cascades into like, hey, I'm happy. I did things well.
Yeah.
And so that's where I'm kind of at in my career. Is I don't keep people just because of hey they're helping my business, they're helping me grow, they're being part of my business. I keep them because I feel like I'm helping them, I'm valuing them, or they are perceiving that they're at least getting a crap ton of value to make it worthwhile.
Yep.
and to come in, to take the time to get off work and come in or whatever it happens to be. But then at the same time, like they are exchanging that thing, but I want to give them the key to their body, so that way, hence the name of the BodiKey.
Yeah.
So that way they feel like, hey, I can open this door and I can go try something new. Or if I wanted to run a half marathon and I'm now 30 years old,
Right.
they have that option. They can start training, they can start moving and progressing and go from there. So
Yep. I think one of the coolest conversations that I have with patients, and it's one of the conversations that like I wish, I'm hopeful that I get to have more and more of them, but occasionally like I'll get a patient that either messages us or calls, or like I run into them somewhere, and they'll come up and say like, hey, like I had a flare up like 2 weeks ago or something like that, and I'm like, okay. And then they're like, and like I remembered what you said, and I went through my exercises, and I modified things the way that we talked about it, and it's like it's 2 weeks later, and like I'm feeling much better. Like I still got some progress to make, but like I feel really good. I feel confident. I know where I'm going. And it's like, and they never came into the clinic.
Yeah.
Like that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's weird to think about again from a business side, but like that's the end goal, is teaching people to understand it so well that they get to have control. That also means they get to decide when they need to come in for treatment. But it's like, I don't think we're ever going to run out of people to take care of. So I want the people that I take care of to like do super duper well. Yeah. And then like tell your friends about it. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, like there's always going to be a space for this type of treatment. Yeah. So you don't have to like force people into it and then hold on to them forever.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? It's like
you don't have
opposite.
To strangle that monetary value. And I think a big aspect, a lot of business owners focus on competition, and you're like this too. A lot of it, not like I'm going to describe, like me. You think like me. Like a lot of business owners focus on the competition. Oh, I got to make sure that I'm better than this person or better than this person, or make sure that my prices are slightly less so that way people come to me. And especially when I owned a gym, a fitness center, and even now with BodiKey, like my competition is the couch. The people that just choose to go home because they're in so much pain or so much discomfort that they just sit on the couch, watch whatever it happens to be, Survivor or Dancing with the Stars, whatever it happens to be, and don't actually get out and move and get out and be able to do things because they're worried that it might cause the pain to get worse, or they are so exhausted because the pain has worn them out beyond to the point where yes they're doing their 8-hour job, but then all of a sudden doing an 8-hour job with chronic pain is now turned into a mind-boggling of stress that you go home and you sleep and that's all you can do, and and so trying to get people off that movement and get them just feeling like they can actually enhance and get going is a big thing for me. So.
Yeah, well, and this kind of goes back to the maintenance conversation too. I'd be curious if we polled 100 random people off the street and we just said, of your time and money and effort, what percentage of those things do you put towards your health? And I'm guessing it's probably going to be lower than a lot of other things. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you kind of just talk about like the way that just a lot of people, and unfortunately, like this is just baseline normal, especially in America. Yeah. But like people don't think of their health as an investment. They don't put the time into necessarily doing stuff and taking care of it. We're kind of taught like, just deal with it, you'll be fine. Or we all have aches and pains, and we all turned 30. And so like we get stuck in this thought circle of like, well, this is this is just how I'm supposed to feel, and every day is supposed to be like not necessarily great. And then you realize like you're just running at like 50% of what you could be.
Yeah.
And if you invested a little bit of time or a little bit of money or a little bit of effort into something that's going to help push your health forward, whether it could be going to the gym, being more active, working with a PT, working with a chiro, someone that's trying to help you level up that like health investment in your life. Like people make pretty big gains pretty quickly, especially if you're going from, I don't really put much into it to I'm going to put a little into it.
Yeah.
It's like same thing with money. Like if you save no money, you're probably not going to get very far financially. Yeah. But if you literally save a little bit of money, you just save a little bit of money over time, you're going to have way more money than you thought you would. Yeah. Like health is the same. Yeah. So it's not like people have to jump off the couch and run a marathon, right? Like, no, you just have to get off the couch and do something, and then do something again, and just kind of stack those things on top of each other.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. That's getting moving, just kind of keep going and progressing, and that's a very good idea. Being able to do the first thing is the hardest thing usually.
Totally.
And it goes back to the forgotten people of healthcare. Like my niche is 30 to 50 years old, and that's simply because the priority list of your own health is so low. Like you have,
totally.
You're building your career, you're growing your kids into being hopefully successful people that are a huge part of societies. You're doing all these things that the priority of your own health is so much lower. When you're retired and you don't have very many priorities, you're going to spend money on your health because now it's almost reactive. Like it's going to start getting to the point where, hey, this is disrupting my quality of life and stuff like that. And you're on your kid. I promise you, if your 13-year-old kid gets injured, you're going to spend any amount of money you want on that kid. Somehow you came up with $1,000 to pay for the whatever it happens to be, and that's simply because of the kids. So my niche of 30 to 50 is just because the health priority is 5, 6, 8, 10 down the list. Like it's not a major priority for most people that age. But trying to get them back up to, and not so much, I'm not going to make them this fitness model or anything like that, but getting them back into going for a family walk or getting them back into wanting to walk their dog rather than just sit on the couch or something like that is very much more motivation to kind of encourage people to move.
Right. Well, and I think one of the other challenges of musculoskeletal health and the pain side of things is, symptoms don't necessarily hit us right away, right? Like we can we can lose our strength over time. We can lose our conditioning over time. Like we can get less functional over time, but it's not like the pain hits us right away, or it's not like one day you're out playing with your kids and having fun and like the next day you're not. It's such a gradual thing that like it's almost hard to think about. And that's what I think adds into like that forgottenness of like, well, things are fine enough now, I can handle it for now. And then, unfortunately then it like gets to a point where all of a sudden this thing becomes a problem, but it's been a building process for years, and like it's just hard to turn back, and you can't undo it. You can make it better moving forward, but it's like, now you just spent that 20 years of your busy life not making progress with that stuff, and then you find yourself on the other end and it's like, crap, like now what do I do? So
I totally agree that it becomes a breaking point, right? So when you're in that age range of, I can just live with this back pain for this long, but then all of a sudden you can't sleep or you can't pick up your kid anymore, or something happens usually that it just becomes a breaking point. It's we teach biomechanics, or we did teach biomechanics together. It's the stress strain curve, right? And so you can build up as much stress, but then as soon as you strain it, like you're gonna fall off the roller coaster, like, and so there's eventually going to be a yield point where your body starts telling you, hey, you got to do something about this, and that's usually when the pain starts. It's usually when comes going, but then you're gonna get to that breaking point, and all of a sudden now you have to do something. Now it's more reactive, and I would much rather see somebody in that yield part of the graph
good callback.
rather than seeing them at that breaking point, and that's just because it's a lot easier to get them back into a normal amount of stress on that tissue, or in life in general, but on that tissue while they're still just having minor aches and pains, compared to now all of a sudden you can't sleep. It's not that I won't see somebody that can't sleep or can't, move their arm above their arm or with their head or something like that, but it's a matter of, like, it's way easier to take care of them in that yielding of, like, hey, this is starting to hurt, you should take care of it.
Right. Well, and when you're talking with people about, like, what does that pain mean? What does that tightness mean? Do you find that general people have a really good understanding of that stuff?
Yeah.
No,
no,
right?
definitely not.
And so, like, I feel like that's like the biggest opportunity for a lot of clinicians is when we can help people make sense and get them to see that, like, not all pain is a 5-alarm warning, and get them to understand, like, hey, this might just be your body's way of letting you know, slow down a little bit, do a little bit less, or do it just a little bit differently, and then you'll probably be fine.
Yeah.
But when so many people run into pain and they see it as this huge stop sign, then they start to fall backwards down that slippery slope of avoiding things, and it just kind of builds up this fear monster that then keeps them from doing stuff.
100%. Yeah, I would. RICE. Everyone knows the acronym RICE, right? Rest, ice, compression, elevation. So when an injury happens, I got to rest it. And the definition of rest always gets me, because an MD will do it too. You go to an MD and say, just rest it for 2 weeks. And the typical person on the street is going to take rest. Hey, I can't do anything. I'm going to go sit in my bed for 2 weeks. And it's not bed rest, but it's like, I'm not going to do anything that aggravates my shoulder. I'm just going to keep it at my side. But that actually makes it worse. Like, you need to actively rest. You need to flirt with the pain. You need to get to the point of, like, that kind of hurts, so I'm going to be okay. No, you shouldn't go, if your shoulder hurts, go do overhead drywall for a weekend. Definitely not. You shouldn't be a farmer. Let's go. I don't know if any farmers are listening, but you shouldn't be a farmer. Like, the mentality is there. You got to safely move. You got to keep the motion. You got to keep it moving. And kind of just do that to a point of eventually your body's like, hey, now I can do this. And now you can get above a little bit higher. Now you can get even higher. Now you can go all the way overhead, simply because you kind of told that body of, like, hey, this is it hurts, but it's okay. And typically, speaking of shoulder, it's going to hurt when you're at shoulder height. Typically, it gets better as you get higher, and that's just because it comes down to levers. And, that muscle has to work a lot harder when that elbow or hand is a lot farther away from your body. So then it gets closer to your body as you move up. So that muscle has to work a lot harder. And so if you can find ways to, make it easier through that hard, painful section, eventually your body's going to get strong enough and feel a lot better going through the whole mechanism, or keep your arm close to your body if you can too as you're working. So.
Yep. When I'm working through progressive stuff like that, I always think of it as, like, we're literally reteaching the body how to do something. And it's like, if you're going to try and, reteach a kid how to read, you're just not going to, like, throw a Harry Potter book at them, right? Like, you can't go 0 to 100. Yeah. Like, you have to reteach in steps. And we approach, like, movement and progressive stuff the same way. And understand that, like, you may not be able to reteach your shoulder how to do all of its movement the first day. Yeah. But if you teach it a little, and then you teach it a little bit more, and then you teach it a little bit more, again, it all just kind of, like, builds on itself. But you have to be patient with it. And that's, I think that's one of the human variables that makes it the hardest. Like, humans just naturally are not patient. We like to do things. We like things to go fast. Yeah. And sometimes that patient part gets in the way, and we do things too fast, and then we re-aggravate things, and then we have to take 2 steps back. Well, humans also don't like to take 2 steps back. Right. And so you kind of have to play this this kind of, like, back and forth process, and understand that some days we might go too far. We might have to pay for it a little bit, but that's okay, because then we're going to work our way back up to it again, and then make a slightly smarter decision this time, and then we'll keep making progress. Yeah. So when you get people to see it as this, like, overtime process, instead of a, like, we identified this problem, we diagnosed it, we're going to give you this treatment, and then it's going to feel better right away. It's like, that's not how the body typically works. Exactly. But when you see the process of it, I think people can follow it a lot easier. and then they can start to like work for themselves, which is I think kind of what you and I keep getting back to.
Yeah. So. Yeah. It's amazing. The body will eventually find a way to heal itself, whether that's a good healing or bad healing. Like it's going to either form scar tissue and not allow you to have function anymore, or it's going to kind of heal itself as get rid of the inflammation or whatever happens to be causing it through that process. And walking through somebody that it's like, hey, this is safe things to do right now. That's so educated movement is definitely a thing. This is the safe things to do, and this is that when if you start doing stuff or you try to do this, like you are at risk of this, and this, and but education. I think we've stemmed on that numerous times throughout this podcast already. Is that it's giving somebody the tools or the education, or because a lot of people just don't know what to do. Like it's amazing. My own wife freaks out about random stuff sometimes. Like, oh, should I go to the doctor? I'm like, no, like don't go to the doctor. Like, and that's my own wife. And she'll laugh at me because I'm going to say it because every time I say this, I make fun of her. But I love her to death. But yet at the same time, it's a matter of. Just that general education. A lot of people just don't have that background, and and it's a matter of they need to be told what to do essentially, and not so much from every point of their life, but just like, hey, just knowing that, hey, this is okay. This will take 3 to 6 weeks to get better, but it will get better. Like, this is not something that needs to be rushed into an MRI and into a surgery consult and all this stuff. Like, it is something that your body will heal. And in most instances, now, if you're having major pain or loss of muscle usage or numbness, tingling, or major numbness, tingling, that is, like that's a different story. Like, but if you're, for the most part, if it's just, I feel it when I stand up, or I feel it, like if it's occurring with movement, that's a very good sign that it's going to get better with either a PT or chiro, and and go from there. So. Yeah,
it's funny that you bring up your wife, because as I was kind of going through the topics that I wanted you and I to talk about, this is episode 8, and I haven't talked about Maddie that much, my fiance, and I was like, God, an episode with Matt would be perfect, because like when you run a small business clinic, it's every small business is a family business. I can't remember where I heard that, but it's like as soon as you take that step into ownership and like you are one of the bigger, if not the person running your clinic, that is now hugely connected to the rest of your life outside of the clinic. And I think it creates a different we'll call it workflow, because I'm sure that there have been plenty of days where you've clocked out of your patient care and then continued to work.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right? And so I guess tell me how that's been for you guys, because Maddie and I are kind of we're still early on in this relationship process, but it can make such a big difference on who your partner is within that process. Yeah. So I just wanted to kind of hear your guys' back.
Yeah, I mean, I'm blessed with a very, very loving wife. I think it does come down, it's a commitment on her side. I think for me, it's slightly a challenge because my wife is not healthcare educated, like in any bit. Like she does not understand the healthcare world any more than I did. So I even had to convince her that it was a good thing that I was going cash-based versus insurance-based, because she was one of those people that, I'm paying this premium. Should insurance just pay for it? I'm like, yeah, they should. They won't, but they should. And so, but that commitment of, I especially early on when I owned the business, like I was the manager, I was the owner, I was the technician, I was the scheduler, I was the administration, I was the cleaner. Like you literally wear 5-10 hats when you're the business owner. And now it's getting a little bit easier now that I have a front desk. Like some of those are off, but even still, like I get a text message or a call at 8 p.m. and I do feel that calling to like, hey, I want to answer this patient, because that patient is reaching out and they're suffering, and I want to be part of that solution to get them better. So it is a commitment for my wife and my kids that when usually when I'm on my phone or something like that, and there's been times that with my own sin, anger of like, leave me alone, like when I'm busy trying to reply to a patient or something like that, where but it is like, you just got to take it slow. I'm very blessed to have a wife that is very patient and understands that commitment, and it's amazing, especially being an introvert, like having meetings or patients all day definitely wears me out too. So it's amazing just coming home and she understands, and my wife totally understands that, hey, I just need an hour or two to decompress. And usually that's when I go on walks or do something that will kind of just decompress my mind and get me back into the mindset. And it's a commitment, like you are definitely going to find when you're officially married and eventually have kids and all that stuff, that it is definitely a commitment. You're definitely ahead of the game, because although my wife, I waited for my wife to get through master's. She didn't want to wait for me to get through doctorate. So we had our kid when I was in my doctorate school.
Yeah.
And so the stress was definitely there as we were progressing and already having that family and commitment, where you are going to have a good foundation going into starting your family and keep moving, which is going to be a very good blessing for you. But yeah, all I can say is that, have patience, and when you realize that she wants attention, make sure that you actually give the attention rather than looking at that patient, because your home life, if there's a huge happy wife, happy life, right?
Right.
There's a huge component of that. But I do, the main reason I started my business, and I will stem this, like I've always wanted to start my own business, but ever since I've had a family, is to support my family. I am not here to become a millionaire. I'm not here to be well known in the community and kind of be this big person that can only get a certain amount of people better. Like, I don't have that ego. It is, I'm here to support my family, and I want to do it by helping others at the same time. And my wife is that same, even though she has no healthcare background. She's definitely got the career development and mental health background that she understands that too. She wants to help people. She's not a people pleaser. I'm not a people pleaser, but at the same time, she wants to help people. She wants to please people, even though it's not in that realm of, hey, we're just going to do something just because it's inconvenient or just because it's convenient type of thing. But yeah, having that, the kids are probably a little bit more feel it, because my kids, I work till 6:30 Monday. I've worked till 5 on Tuesday. Like, my kids after school come to work, and they see that I'm seeing patients. Like, it is a family atmosphere. Like, they're cleaning rooms. They're the summer, actually, with no school. My daughter was there. She's 9 now. Was there for my 8-10 hour shifts, and she was checking people in. She was saying hi. My 6-year-old was getting
awesome.
like going up, hey, would you like some water? Like, they're involved. They see the commitment, and I stem that in my personal life too, of that, say I gotta miss like my daughter's figure skating, like I ask my daughter permission to miss my daughter's figure skating. I ask her, like, hey, I got this going on, I really want to do this. It's your night, though, for me to be at your figure skating. Is it okay if I leave? And so this last Sunday, I'm a huge NASCAR fan. And it was the championship. Joey Logano won, by the way. He's my driver. Great. 3-time champ. But I literally asked my daughter, like, hey, I really want to watch the race. Is there a chance that I can do this? Now, this has nothing to do with work. But yet she gave me that permission. She realized that, hey, this is something I want to do. And I'm giving her that commitment. And I've kind of bought that into my kids. If my wife buys into that, like, we make it a family commitment when we're trying to buy stuff. Or trying to do stuff for that. And then there's other times for the business, like we do parades, and my kids are part of it, my wife's part of it. Like, they are bought into the business just as much as I am, which is a huge blessing. Because if it wasn't like that, I do think there would be a lot more back and forth grappling. And it also helps that it's successful, I guess. If it's a business that is like failing and like it's draining of financial reasons and stuff like that, like I can understand that be a burdensome for the relationship. But it is nice that, hey, I've had support from patients. I've had the word of mouth referrals that it's been a successful, which has significantly blessed us as a family and allowed us to live a life that to me is amazing. So
yeah, that's awesome. And you kind of mentioned it a little bit too. Like, it's its own unique challenge, because you don't necessarily get the opportunity to like walk out the door and be totally done and like disconnected. Yeah. Like, you could, someone could argue that you could, and some people are probably better at that than others. But at the same time, it's not necessarily a bad thing though, because like if it serves its purpose in your life, you get to take care of your family, it's something you're passionate about. If your work makes you a better person, I bet there's some people out there that don't feel like their work makes them a better person. I feel like my job makes me a better person, because we're always given perspective. We get to talk about a lot of different things with people in life, and I feel like I'm always learning, and always being humbled just by like what we're doing. So like I feel like that's another reason why like I love my job, is it just makes me a better me. But but yeah, it still all has to like come together to be a positive experience that like extends back home. And I think where I appreciate Maddie for so many things with like that type of support. And one of it is she does a very good job of helping me create good boundaries. And you know, I've met plenty of other small business owners that like their work ends up taking over a lot of things and they don't have the boundary to push back on work. And that's one thing that like Maddie's super strong with, because she knows like what we want to do with our life. Like we get married in, oh man, I'm usually really good at guessing like the exact number. So we get married March 1st, so it's probably like 100 days away, give or take, which is so cool. And like we have plans beyond that. And so as I'm changing things at the clinic, or we're working on things at the clinic, a lot of times she'll kind of ask, whether it's directly or in her own way, like, hey, how is that gonna to set us up for a better future? You know, working more hours doesn't always mean you get a better future, because if you come home and you're exhausted all the time, what version are you when you get to come home? And she's just been really good at that, but then also values like the impact that we're having, right? Like I'm guessing if Katie didn't think it mattered what you did at work, right, like it wouldn't feel the same. And Maddie's just a huge supporter of that. And so I'm on the other side where like my fiance is a nurse. She's been a nurse for 10 plus years, so she's very deep in the healthcare education. And so it makes me laugh when you think, if Katie's like, oh my gosh, should I go to the hospital for this?
She does.
My arm could be falling off, and Maddie'd probably be like,
tape it up.
Let me grab my nursing kit. Like, oh, you're fine. So I'm definitely more on like the cautious side of things, but like that's because we bring our own experience to it. But just you saying that just made me laugh. It's so hard. Like, yeah, or other of us get a more healthcare person and are not on the other side. But I think small businesses create just a unique opportunity for like what you can build, because we kind of we can control our own hours. We can be flexible when we need to. We can also bring our kids to work when we need to. And that's another thing that she's brought up in the past, because we have a couple of different rooms, and sometimes our rooms are being used by other people treating patients or running their own business, and she always jokes around like which one of the rooms is going to be the daycare room for once we have kids and and they need a space. But it's always just so helpful to have those reminders, to hold on like that perspective, because it also makes going to work easier, because you know why you're doing it. Like you know that yes, we're here to serve people and take care of people and provide them whatever value we can. That also gets to come back home with us, and we can also get to like provide experience in a life and support for our family.
No, I totally agree, and it's really nice having a spouse that, as a business owner, like a single owner, it's your board meeting is you. Like, so when new ideas come in, or somebody wants this money, or somebody wants this, like your board member is you.
The mirror.
Exactly, and so it's really nice having a spouse, even though she doesn't care about the healthcare side. I can't talk about this patient. I went even with HIPAA, but I wouldn't like. I can't talk about, hey, what should I do here from a treatment perspective, but from a business, like she understands it's meant for the family. So it's really nice having somebody like, hey, should I do this event? Should I teach this class like we just did for the last 2 years? Like it's a huge family commitment to do those things. And now to have a second board member that you can bring those things back to, you're going to find out that, and some of it is like you have lived the bachelor life for now 30 plus years, that it's hard to like not make that executive decision, right?
Sure.
But at the same time, like having that board member to come back to and like, hey, is this important? Is this something we should do as a business and or as a personal relations and stuff like that? Because let's face it, you have not said no to many things. You're a swim coach,
For
you're
sure.
teaching, you're,
Mm-hmm.
you got Kinetic Spine, you got a bunch of other stuff on your plate, and
Right.
now bringing that back to Maddie and just saying, hey, is this something that we should commit to, or I should commit to, and go that way, is going to be very beneficial, because I heavily appreciate that about my wife.
Yeah, totally. And that's, there's also things like, hopefully you understand the strengths that your partner has,
Mm-hmm.
right? And like, Maddie is super good at a lot of detailed things, and I'm just like not a very detailed person. Like, I'm very much like big picture and kind of go with the flow, but still have like a plan and a direction for things. And she's just very good at picking up like little cues. And the example of that is when we were renovating our room, and we just kind of had to hang out in the clinic for a little bit. The plan was, let's just like work on some wedding planning stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, as soon as she walked through the clinic, she saw a lot of details that she thought like, that doesn't make your business look as good as it could.
Mm-hmm.
And so what was supposed to be like a little hour-long thing of us not doing anything clinic-wise turned into us being there for like 4 hours, and we rearranged things and we cleaned things up.
Get ready. That's like I don't know what it's called, but my wife does that all the time. So.
yeah. But I appreciate it. And another thing, just last night, because we're switching over our EHR system to the JNAP, kind of what I was telling you about, and I can only go through so many different lines of like website descriptions and bullet points and whatnot before my brain just starts to like get foggy. But then when I got home last night, I was like, hey, can you just click through this and tell me what you see? Mm-hmm. And like immediately she was like, okay, I like this. Let's tweak that. Okay, I like that. There's an error here. Okay, that looks good. This flows good. And yeah, like I'm just excited to have that second unofficial board member.
It's amazing the emails, the contracts or emails that I write for certain random things. Sure. It's like she has no clue what the contract means, but like, hey, can you proof this? Can you right. Can you make sure I'm not missing something? And it's amazing that to have that second person. And if you're a business owner and you're listening and you don't have that, it means something to at least find that mentor that's willing to do that for you, because that it's crazy how many things that come up that you especially in business ownership, you wing it till you make it. Right. And it's amazing how many mistakes and that you can make, and you do learn from those mistakes. And as long as they're not career ending, like learn from it and move on, go to the next one, because you're gonna make mistakes. You're not gonna be perfect by any means. So having that second person to kind of make sure that you're staying on top of that is a good thing.
Totally. It's one of the quotes that I heard a while ago was like, and it was kind of comparing business and marriage, and he kind of said like, when it comes to marriage, like the winning in marriage just means that you stay married and it works out, right? 100%. So it's like there is no event of winning. Like the winning is still being married. Like the thing is the thing. And business is the same. Like the main goal of business, stay in business. You're going to have ups and downs. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to lose money. You're going to make money. But it's like, as long as the ship doesn't sink and you get to jump back in the next day and like keep the boat sailing, like then you're doing the thing. And I think it kind of gives a really cool long perspective on things of like, we're playing this for the long game. We're playing marriage for the long game. Like this is not just like an event or a phase. Like you're in it for the whole process.
And I would say marriage, my mindset of marriage is that there is no end. Like this, not to bring up a society problem, but like 50% of people get divorced now. Like that, there can be an end. And mine and my wife's, which I'm very blessed that she's as this too, is that there is no choice to make it work. You have to make it work because there is no end. There is like me or you we're married. We're two people as one. Like we come from a very religious background or religious personal life, and business life. But BodiKey is definitely a business, Christian oriented. We have Christian music going, stuff like that. But it's a matter of like, hey, this is a matter of we are married, we're the same person, we're working together. Yes, we have our own goals. Yes, we have our own lives. Yes, we can make our own decisions. But yet, it's got to come back to us working together because, like you said, there is no end in business. There is no end. Like BodiKey is going to be here for as long as I continue to make it grow, or God continues to bless me the way He has. It's going to be there. It's going to be an option for people to get better, and it's just going to continue to be part of the community. So
yeah, cool. I know we're at 1 hour mark because I just peeked at my clock. Any other things that you wanted to add?
No, I mean,
topics?
I definitely appreciate you bringing me on. These are fun. I would love for more better healthcare podcasts out there. So I definitely appreciate you bringing me on. I would, love. A lot of people just don't know what they don't know, and so to give somebody the education and the backgrounds, and I would love to make it a more frequent thing if you need to. And
Totally.
I'm hoping this takes off for you and it continues to grow because it's exciting to be a part of it. So I appreciate knowing you too, because that's you are a well committed man, and so I appreciate you taking time and getting to know me too. So
yeah, very mutual, and I think to me, it's a cool example of like finding mentors or connections, or just like you and I are very much partners in a lot of things that we do, and to do that like outside of your direct professional realm, right? Like, it doesn't have to be for me another chiropractor that I talk business stuff with all the time. Like, I get so much value out of you and us coming from slightly different places with different perspectives. Like, it's been one of the coolest surprises for me of like moving back to town was like getting connected with you like literally right away. Like, I think we met like before I
sometimes not even in good circumstances, but
right, yeah. But it's like, it's so cool that like you don't get to plan that when you make those steps, and hopefully you get a little bit lucky with who you get connected with, but then like who knows what you can turn it into. And like you and I have taught courses together, we've done different event things together, we get to do this together. Like, there's a reasonable chance that you come back on this podcast because you and I have a great repetitive pattern of
exactly.
like
making it a priority.
So but yeah, really appreciate you. Check out BodiKey. They're located over by Boulder Tap. You can go to their website,
BodiKey.com, so pretty easy. BodiKey. So I give you the key to your body is what my wife decided to make that long time ago. So my wife did come up with the name, not me. So
genius. Sounds genius to me.
Right.
But again, appreciate you, and appreciate you guys tagging along for episode 8. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.